You're the dire villain. I lived long enough to see if that's become the hero.
To be Batman, or not to be Batman. That, my friend, is not even a question. You should always be Batman, dummy. Okay, good talk. Oh, hello there. Come on in, guys, and join me. Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Shakakapow Christmas. Yes. And we're doing another comic book review in today's episode. Yeah. So, for those of you that follow the channel, you know that every year during Christmas we do at least one Batman episode. I think one year we did even more than one episode, and even the first review we did on the channel was a Batman episode. So you can probably take a wild guess what this episode is going to be about. I mean, you don't need to, do you? Because you can read the title and you can click on the video. Clever. Very clever. You're so clever. Cheerio. Okay, so we're doing another Batman comic book, and you know that I try to find interesting comic books for you guys, and there's so many Batman titles out there, and I enjoy more the ones that are not a part of a very long series, or the ones that are maybe the ones that are a little bit more unique and interesting and weird. So that's why we did like Batman the Cult, and we did Batman Year 2. Yeah, so, okay, let's dive in. In today's episode, we are going to talk about Batman the Imposter. Alright, okay. And yeah, this comic book here, I'll just start with this. This is probably one of the best Batman comic books I have read in my entire life. This is a perfect story, and I'll explain why and all that in a second. Okay, so let's just start with the usual stuff and get that out of the way. So the story is written by Mattson Tomlin, and the artist is none other than Andrea Sorrentino. And you guys know that I'm a huge fan of Andrea Sorrentino. Andrea Sorrentino and Jeff Lemire, they have done a lot of cool comic books together that we've talked about. We did a review on Joker, the Killer Smile. I haven't talked about this on the show, but this is also Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino comic book. Really good one. And we also did a review on Gideon Falls. Again, Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. They're like a super team. This isn't Jeff Lemire, but this is still Andrea Sorrentino, so you know the illustrations are top-notch and amazing. But we also have Jordie Bellaire as the colorist, so that's amazing. The colors are so good, and the combination of the art and the coloring, it just, yeah, it's fantastic. Okay. All right. So what is this comic book about, and why is it so good? I mean, first of all, it's a very good story, and it's very well written. Everything is put together really good. It's one of those stories where, I mean, I've read it twice, and the second time, there were some things I didn't notice the first time I read it. And there are so many things I want to talk about with this comic book. But I'm going to restrain myself because I try to do the reviews spoiler-free for you guys. I want you to be able to watch the review and get a feel of whether you like this comic book or whether this is for you or not. And then if you think you like it, I want you guys to go and buy the comic book for yourselves and enjoy it on your own. Yeah. So I'll try to keep this spoiler free, but I really want to talk about all of this. So I might come back to Batman the Imposter and do a full-on spoiler video later. Okay. Let's try to start. This is a very realistic approach to the concept of Batman. And yeah, so the comic book is obviously by DC, but this is a Black Label comic book. And so this is not a story set in the canon Batman universe. This is like an Elseworld story. And this Batman story and the Black Label universe and the whole thing, it reminds me a lot of what Garth Ennis did with Punisher in the Punisher Max universe. It has a same dark, realistic feel to it. Okay? Here in this universe, Bruce Wayne is even more unhinged than normal. Like, yeah, he's always a loose cannon and unhinged, but here he is more filled with rage and more violent than normal, and the death of his parents is something he didn't handle very well. This comic book feels like it could have been set in the same universe as the Batman, that movie, the Matt Reeves movie, and it has some of that same atmosphere. And Bruce Wayne even looks like Robert Pattinson. But I found out something interesting. Mattson Tomlin he's uncredited, but he was one of the story supervisors for that movie. So maybe there is like a reason why this has that feel. I'm not sure. This came out in 2021 and the movie came out in 2022, I think. Yeah, if you know more of the connection between this comic book and the Batman, let me know in the comments. Okay. Yeah, so Batman here is filled with rage and he's violent. So here, Alfred just leaves. Yeah, when Bruce Wayne is 11, Alfred can't deal with him anymore, and he goes to this therapist, Leslie Tompkins, and he's like, I don't know what to do with him. I've tried everything I can, but I found him in the yard trying to build explosives. He's 11 years old. So Alfred gives up, and then 1 week later, we learn that Bruce Wayne left he was transferred to this Russian military school. Yeah. And the story evolves around 3 characters. One is Bruce Wayne, and then we have the therapist, and we also have a detective trying to solve a case, the case of who Batman is and some murderer. So I'll get to that. The comic book starts with Bruce Wayne falling over outside the door of the therapist's office, and she takes him in, and Leslie Tompkins, this therapist, she knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman, and they have come to this agreement that she's not gonna hand him over to the law as long as Bruce Wayne comes into her office every morning and talks with her about all the Batman stuff. So he has to come in and he has to like let her know what he did, like all the Batman things he does. He has to tell her. If he doesn't show up on her door in the morning, she's gonna call the cops. So that's an interesting angle. And she's the only person in Bruce Wayne's life. So she feels kind of responsible for trying to help Bruce Wayne. And because he is Batman, and because he is doing all of this, she already feels that she might have failed him. So there's some stuff there. So she's kind of like a person that cares about him and is trying as best she can to channel him into the right path. And then we have the detective. And before I get into what her story is, let's approach the whole imposter concept. Yeah, as I said, this is a very clever story. This is a very well written story, and it does so many cool things that when you read it, you're like, huh, why haven't anyone else talked about this? Why have no one else approached this exact thing? And yeah, so there is a murderer out there killing people dressed as Batman, hence the imposter. And that is pretty interesting, because how can Batman prove that he's innocent without revealing his hidden identity? How can he prove that he is not the one that is killing off people? Yeah, we know that Batman doesn't kill. And actually in this one, I'm not sure that is the case, because there's at least one kill. You be the judge of that when you read this. But yeah, he's more brutal and more violent, and he does a lot of mistakes. So again, I'm trying to keep it spoiler free, but minor spoilers. So there's this incident where somebody shoots at Batman and he just jumps out of the way, but then somebody else gets hit. And it seems like this version of Batman doesn't have a lot of empathy. This comes into play later. As I said, there's this detective trying to solve the murders, and her suspect is obviously Batman. She doesn't know that it's a different Batman, but she is trying to figure out who Batman is. Then she discovers interesting things, like there are these wires all over town from like one building to the other, so someone could kind of use them as a method to quickly get across rooftops in a very effective way. And she finds these motorcycles also stashed around town, hidden everywhere, and like they don't seem to belong to anyone, but of course they're used by Batman. And this is not a very high-tech Batman. Again, he reminds me of the Batman with Robert Pattinson. So as she investigates all of this, she very quickly comes to the conclusion that there are only that many people that could have been Batman. So as she's following a lead, she ends up on Bruce Wayne's doorstep. Not necessarily because she is suspecting him, but she might think he's related to the whole thing. And Bruce Wayne here is very manipulative. So there is this romance that evolves between the two of them, and Bruce Wayne falls in love with this detective. What's her name? Not Ada Wong, Blair Wong. And she has a kind of a similar story as Bruce Wayne, but he kind of uses her for information. So you get and this is a Batman that wasn't trained by ninjas. He's more militant and he's tactical, but he has this more of a Punisher soldier approach. He's trying to infiltrate this building very early on, and instead of doing all the sneaky stuff and being stealthy, he just comes right in the front door and starts like kicking ass. Yeah, there are so much cool things about this comic book. I enjoyed this comic book and this story more than I did the movie. I think this is a better story than the Batman and the story there. So if we're getting a sequel to the Batman, I hope they take some nods from this comic book right here. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. This is a perfect story. There's nothing here I would want differently. So yeah, I'm not going to say much more. Have you read it? Did you like it? If you haven't read it, just go buy it right now. If you're a DC fan, Batman fan, or if you just want a good comic book, if you want some really good detective noir crime story, check it out. Yeah. So that's it, guys. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching the video. And stick around, and we're going to do more Christmas videos here on the channel. Hopefully we're going to do more comic book reviews, and I'll try to gather the guys for more Christmas movies. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to drink my coffee, and then I'm going to go to bed. It's like 4 in the morning. 5 maybe. Midnight coffee.